Okay, so we're gonna get right into the next session. Mike and Co, if you want to come out. So Mike is gonna be moderating. He's from Button. Chris from Redpoint alluded to Button earlier in the day. Probably a lot of you in the room know them, but really cool company working kind of in the affiliate space, sort of. I think that undersells what they do. Other key thing on this next panel, Mike has assured me that they very much would like to have lots of audience questions. So in the last session, we probably had like 30 or 40 Slido questions would be my guess. So we're going to allocate a ton of time to the Slido stuff. So I'll be on top of that if you want to ask questions to Brian and Lauren. And I'm willing to bet that they literally cannot hear me right now. So I'm going to go get them. Okay, one second. Now they hear me.
Did I hear my name?
Yeah, yeah. Welcome. It's a whole conference and everything. Thanks, guys.
Right.
How's this be?
Should we do this? Yeah, you want to go down here?
Yeah.
Want to go here? Yeah. All right. Howdy. So we have an exciting group of folks here, if I don't say so myself. Mike Dudas, one of the co-founders of Button, Chief Revenue Officer. Button is a platform that helps drive commerce for some of the largest mobile services in the world. Two of those companies that we work with are Jet and Groupon. I'm one of the founders, Chief Revenue Officer. Would love the panelists to introduce themselves.
Hey everybody, I'm Brian Fields. I'm Groupon's Vice President of Corporate Development and Strategic Partnerships. Been with the company about 5 years in our Chicago headquarters.
Cool. I'm Lauren Picasso. I'm the Director of Marketing at Jet.com, and I run Jet's mobile growth team. I've been at Jet for about 3 years now, which is crazy.
Excellent. So we're going to jump right in. I know, everybody here is thinking quite a bit about the Facebook, Google duopoly, and wondering, hey, where do we acquire new customers? Where do we re-engage our customers and users on mobile? Groupon and Jet have very, very large businesses, both growing new customers as well as their existing customers. And we are really interested. We work with them, but they use many different channels on mobile to drive their businesses beyond Facebook and Google. Would love, Lauren, if you could talk about some of the channels that you find most effective for driving new users as well as re-engagement on mobile.
Totally. So yeah, generally at Jet, and I think a lot of marketers find this, your app users convert a lot better and the LTV is a lot higher. And so because of this, we're all willing to defend a much higher cost of acquisition. But the problem is that app installs have gotten increasingly more expensive as the market's become a lot more competitive. And so we're constantly looking for new channels that are more efficient and still driving these really high quality users that we're used to seeing on Facebook and Google, but Facebook and Google have just become too expensive. So just an example where we launched with Button last summer and have been really focused on finding partnerships that align with our core demographic, which is really just this older millennial customer, typically a mom in an urban area. Publishers like Ibotta and Acorns really align with our core target, but also really drive efficiency for us. So these publishers are not only align with our core demo, but they're willing to create and build these dedicated mobile experiences that educate the customers a lot more than, say, you could do with a display ad.
Excellent. Brian?
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities, I think, for Groupon. We've really found a lot of great partners where there's high intent or high context with our content in the flow of the partner's app. And some examples of that would be, again, we're working with Button to put our deals on the Foursquare app when there's a particular merchant who's also running a Groupon offer. There's a big G on that page on the Foursquare app, and you can take it from there. We work with Bing in search results when somebody searches for either at the category level or at a merchant level, and there's a Groupon offer, we surface it. We're working with General Motors in the automobile that if you hit the OnStar button and you ask for directions to a merchant, if there's a Groupon, you'll get that offer sent to your mobile phone. So we're, really, it's where the intent and the context is high. We have an ability to drive a lot of traffic and new user growth outside of the Google, Facebook ecosystem.
Awesome. In terms of Facebook and Google, are they driving high long-term LTV users for you efficiently still? I mean, we talk about how expensive they are. Brian, have you found that Facebook and Google are still driving high LTV users?
Absolutely. I mean, Groupon has over 40 million active users globally. So there's the pools are so deep with both Google and Facebook that we certainly haven't exhausted it. So we have to just be very careful about how much we spend, and we have very strong analytics when we get a sense of what the person's buying, what specific channel we're marketing them through, and whether they're buying on desktop or mobile web, and we have a good sense of what the LTV will be. And we do a lot of testing with, it could be hundreds of dollars that we spend, and we get a good sense of where to dial it up or down. But we're absolutely finding strength there still.
Lauren, sort of post-acquisition, what are some of the engagement metrics that you're looking at, some of the milestones to say, hey, this channel has driven? What are you using to determine the efficiency of your acquisition channels?
Yeah, so I think it really depends a lot on what the customer is buying. So Jet is this, an e-commerce marketplace. We have a massive product catalog, over 20 million items, and we sell everything from paper towels and toilet paper to televisions. And so we actually find that these types of customers are really different. So just as an example, like if you're going to buy an Xbox or a TV, you're going to start that search probably on Google. And so you're more in a sort of research mode. Maybe you're not sure exactly where you're going to buy that item. And you land on a Google PLA. You end up going to Jet, checking out. You might never come back to Jet, actually. So you maybe buy that TV. You never think of Jet again. And so for us, it's really important with those types of purchases that we're actually making all of our money back on that single transaction. So we'll optimize towards metrics like return on ad spend. App users, it's actually really, really different metrics. So we find that our app users tend to buy consumable products, so products like groceries and everyday essentials for your household, pet food, baby stuff, those types of products that you are replenishing often. And so for these types of customers, we actually look at totally different metrics. We really are focused on cost of acquisition. And we know that if we spend a certain amount on you and we don't make it back in that single transaction, you're actually much more likely to come back to Jet if you bought one of these consumable products from us. So we're really investing in those future purchases from you. So we really look at costs of acquisition as it relates to lifetime value. And we find that it's really different by category, really different by channel. And so that's, we're a pretty new company. LTV is a difficult metric to really measure when you've been around for like a year and a half. But we are super focused on building out those models as we grow and get more data.
Excellent. So a question specifically about affiliate marketing. Affiliate marketing, everybody in the room is familiar with it. In many channels on desktop, it drives 20, 30% of sales, sometimes more, sometimes less, but it's a large chunk of sales. On mobile, it's significantly lower. Lauren, would love to, I know you have a significant affiliate business, both on desktop as well as on mobile. What are some of the challenges on mobile, and why isn't it a larger part of the marketing mix today?
Totally. Well, I think, part of it is just that the web has been around a lot longer, right? So affiliate marketing started on web. But I also think that there's a lot less friction on web. So web is, the app we all have. Everything is just one link click away. And so you're able to get a lot of scale really quickly. On mobile, there's a lot more friction. Even on mobile web, web was built for desktop, so the experience on mobile web, even though it's getting a lot better, is still not that great, and conversion is really low. And then on native, where the experience is really rich and immersive, there's this extra hurdle you have to go to in actually going to the App Store and downloading an app. And linking is hard. Going from an app to another app is hard. Going from the website to an app is hard. And so I think that's the big challenge in mobile affiliate. And despite having a really large affiliate business on web, we've just really started to scratch the surface of what we can do in mobile. But I think the real opportunity is of any sort of platforms like Button that can really eliminate that kind of friction. So any platform or technology that allows you to seamlessly transition users across platforms and across experiences in the right contextual moments. I think if you can do that well, there's definitely a big opportunity to grow affiliate in mobile.
Awesome. Brian, so as you're looking to grow Groupon's business, right? It's a brand that everybody in the U.S. knows. Over 100 million, far more than that, downloads. But you're always looking to grow and drive new business. What type of publisher opportunities or partnership opportunities are top of mind for you in 2017 and beyond?
Yeah, going back to what I said earlier, I think it's where there's high context and intent between the publisher's content, app, community, and what the Groupon content is. That's when it gets really magical together. Coupon sites, deal sites, loyalty sites, travel sites, shopping sites, anywhere where commerce is being conducted that fit with our main categories of Groupon goods, Groupon getaways, which is travel, our local categories, and really trying to tie that niche out to the publisher's content is where when you combine that with a really strong app footprint of 150 million global downloads and all the credit cards we have on file, it puts us in a good position to monetize well for the partner, which is what's going to be most important to them. And even somebody who's outside of that range, like a sports app, if they have a story on the Chicago Cubs, we have deals in Wrigleyville for bars, and if you put those two together, you're gonna again have something like an interesting conversion right there.
And how do you describe your value to those publishers? What is that sort of elevator pitch or couple line description?
I like to think of the Groupon offers as content to the publisher, much in the way that if you're on a restaurant listing and there's an open table button and it's a utility that you can create an easy reservation. I like to think of that if we're matching the Groupon content to the publisher's content well, then we're adding some value to the user experience as opposed to a typical display ad or something that again just doesn't have the context.
That makes sense to me. At Button we like to work with category killers on the merchant side. OpenTable, Uber, Groupon, Jet, but folks who really can provide any set of inventory that any publisher would want, whether it's nationwide or globally. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. What's sort of Jet's, kind of one or two line pitch as you're talking to new publishers?
Yeah, I think for us, we pitch our, this customer that has a high tendency to repeat. So we, a publisher like Ibotta, say, we can tell them that, this customer, we have this grocery customer that's perfectly aligned with their grocery customer that's shopping with Jet every 14 days to stock up on everything they need for their household. The basket sizes are also a lot bigger. Jet's all about building these bigger baskets. So if you look at a retailer like Amazon, their average basket size might be 1 or 2 units because they're all about trying to drive that one-click purchase. Jet, on the other hand, is trying to drive these much bigger baskets and give users savings for doing that. So our average basket size is 8x what you would see on Amazon.
Awesome. So Brian, as you're looking to vet new publishers, right? I mean, you kind of have the pick of the world. Both of your companies do. What are some of the things that you look at? Content quality, size of publisher, but what are some of the variables that you're looking for in your best publishers?
Yeah, for us, we've built our own affiliate platform. So in addition to direct affiliate relationships we have, we're obviously working with Button and others in the space. And so the first thing we're looking at is obviously just quality of the publisher and reputationally, is this somebody we want to work with? But beyond that bar, which for most people probably isn't that hard to exceed, it's around how much are we going to invest in that relationship, mutually based on how much how much incremental traffic are we going to drive for each other as measured by sales. So if we think a publisher can really be highly incremental to us through the channel, then we'll really we'll lean in and we'll invest more in the relationship and try to do more customization around that partnership. And we hope we get the same from the other side as well.
Similar or different?
Yeah. Incrementality is really important to us. So we always, have a lens going into vetting publishers with that in mind. I would say, when we think about really premium incremental publishers and our own resources, we'd much rather spend our time with those types of publishers and really want to lean in there and build out these custom experiences where Jet can really come to life. Affiliate, though, is everything from a mom blogger all the way up to slick deals. And so you have this big long tail of publishers, too. And those publishers are still important to us. It's just we might have a different way of working with them. So trying to make our affiliate platform as self-service possible for those types of publishers that maybe we don't have the kind of time to develop these custom experiences with.
So when we talk about affiliate, often it's about context or links. In a BuzzFeed article about top 10 things to wear this summer. But there's also context that is created through a great offer or great deals. Brian, tell me a little bit about how you think about offers, deals, and promotions, and how that plays into both publisher choices and how you drive volume and purchases on your platform.
Yeah, so the hook to get the user, a big reason we participate in the affiliate channel is to activate new customers, right? It's either driving an incremental transaction or it's activating a new customer. And we have a good sense at the user level what it takes to activate a customer. And what's kind of magical about what we're doing with Button.
Magical, I love it. Thank you.
And Ibotta right now is we're getting segmentation down to the user level so that when somebody comes through the Ibotta app, we can see if they're new to Groupon or an existing Groupon user or somebody who's lapsed with Groupon or somebody who's about to lapse with Groupon. And we can customize the offer for that person at their specific level. So it allows us to dig a lot deeper to acquire a new customer when we have high certainty who that person is and that they're going to be a new customer. If it was just if it's blended across the total population, then we can still make an offer, but we can't dig as deep because we don't, we have a little more fear of cannibalization there.
We're similar. We know that offers are really important, especially for new users, but at the same time, we don't want to give money away. So a lot of times with loyalty publishers, there'll be a cashback offer, and that's where the segmentation is really important. Not only are we able to look at new versus existing customers and segment our commission and offers that we surface to that user differently, but we can also do it by category. So we could have different offers for different high margin categories versus lower margin categories. We could segment based on the future LTV of certain types of customers, like groceries, potentially a higher LTV customer. Maybe we could give a higher first time grocery purchase offer. Those are just some of the ways we think about offers.
Excellent. Lauren, would love for you to just, you have a really interesting mobile marketing or just general marketing stack. I think it would be informative. Just talk through, what is your stack and why have you made the choices to work with the partners that you work with?
Totally. So I think the biggest challenge in mobile is that the technology is really fragmented. So web technology has obviously been around for much longer. And the problem is there aren't a lot of tools that cater to both web and app marketing. Just as an example, like attribution, there's pretty much no web attribution tool, at least that I know of, that does both web and app. And so I think it's really important when you're thinking about your tech stack to first think about how all of this data that you're collecting is going to be transferred across multiple different databases. So it's really important that all of your data that you're looking at is holistic and sits in one place because you don't want to be looking at your app marketing in a silo. You want to understand how your web marketing is affecting your app and how your app marketing is affecting web. And so we're just trying to make sure that our data is centralized. So we work with, I think, at the outset, it's really important to think about your data infrastructure before you even think about adding any other tools. So we work with mParticle. You guys all heard Mike Katz speak earlier. To basically, it alleviates this big problem of, having all these different SDKs in your app. That's like one great advantage. Rather than having a Facebook SDK, an AppsFlyer SDK, a Button SDK, we're able to plug in to mParticle and track all of the events and attributes that we'd ever want to track. And then without any sort of development work, we're able to plug into any third-party SDK that we want. So I think of mParticle as this data collector. At the same time, it's really very much a data bus in that we can send any data we want to these third parties. We can send data from those third parties back to mParticle. And I think most importantly, we can easily send that data from mParticle back to our own internal databases or back to our web attribution tool. So anywhere we need the data to go, whether that's Adobe or our own internal database, we use mParticle essentially to facilitate all of that. Other than that, I think when you're thinking about your tech stack, it's really important that you go into any sort of vetting process really objectively. So we've found that when we put together like an RFI with really detailed questions, and we go out and we vet different vendors, that kind of process really helps us answer a lot of the questions and get to the bottom of what we need a lot faster. Every vendor is going to tell you, like, yeah, we do that, we do this. But objectively, that might not be what they really excel at. So I think it's important to really go into that search objectively.
Excellent. And then, Brian, a little different approach. Would love,
Yeah, just we made a decision years ago to because of how much we were spending on marketing and the size we'd gotten to so quickly to build out a pretty large team of engineers on the marketing side and build almost the full stack internally. And what it's allowed, including we've built our own affiliate platform. What it's allowed us to do is we can dynamically allocate our marketing spend. We budget for planning purposes by the quarter, but we move between countries and channels and customers literally like by the hour. So it could be one day we could be focused on the UK, and then the next day in New York, and then the next day in France. And it allows us, if we want to drive more customer acquisition, we can move the dial up. We can change our LTV parameters. I mean, we can. It allows us to be just very flexible and consistent with what Lauren said. It's just important that we have everything stored in a central database so that all the reporting across the company is at everyone's fingertips, real time.
Yep. And a big learning at Button, two of our largest partners, is sometimes you need to build into a existing stack that a company's built, and sometimes you need to partner and work with third parties. But you need to have that flexibility as a third-party solutions provider to the most important companies on mobile. Last question, and then we'll take questions from the audience. Brian, what's your most exciting growth opportunity in 2017? And same question for you, Laura.
Yes. So I mean, Groupon, we have a large and dedicated user base, and we know people love saving money on Groupon. What our challenge is really and our opportunity is to get higher frequency out of our customers through making Groupon easier to use. And we're doing that through a number of different product initiatives, but one that I'm really excited about is just the ability to link an offer to your credit card, so that instead of having to print out a voucher when you show up at a restaurant or something like that, you just simply claim the offer. It ties it to your credit card. You show up to the restaurant, swipe the card, don't have to say anything. It's particularly good if you're on like a date or something like that, and you get a statement credit from your credit card company, and just a lower friction way to use Groupon.
And I'm sure those deals with the card networks were very easy to come by, right?
They are very protective of their data, as they should be.
Lauren.
Yeah, totally. So I think one thing that's really exciting about what we've done with affiliate on web is that we've plugged into this massive product catalog we have. So all of the publishers we work with on the website have access to all of our inventory, all of our deals, and they're able to service that on their website. So if you go to Groupon, for example, you look at Jet, on any given day there's going to be a deals page of the top electronics products, the top baby products, based on this product feed we're surfacing. What I'm really excited about is potentially leveraging that for mobile. So we're working with Button to give them access to our product feed, working with Ibotta to surface the same sort of inventory. But what could be really cool and interesting in mobile is that you could actually add multiple items and bundles to your cart at the same time, which would be perfectly aligned with Jet's core value proposition of giving you savings for building bigger baskets, and then ideally even a deep link into an entire cart that you had created on a third-party publisher.
Excellent, excellent. Adam, do we have any questions from the audience?
Hello, friend. Yes,
Hi.
Indeed, we have questions.
Delightful.
To be honest, I moderated out like 10 questions about Amazon, being like, "Whoa, don't you compete with Amazon?" So like, sorry, dumb. But no, we do have a lot of questions. So I highlighted one. I just thought it was a good one. No one voted for it. But like, talking about affiliate stuff, obviously, at least in the web world, a lot of those purchases are very like product centric, i.e. I'm looking at a thing specifically, I buy that thing specifically in app. So the question is like, how do you distinguish between needing to make like a positive return on that one-time transaction versus like knowing that you're acquiring a long-term user who might have some LTV to them? Like, is that something you think about specifically as you think about this affiliate stuff?
Yeah, definitely. So when we first started out, we didn't have that sort of differentiation, and then as we gathered data, we looked at the repeat rates.
By publisher.
By publisher, by category, and so we got a much better understanding. And this was like when Jet was first launching, so we didn't have, again, like 12-month LTV, but we could look at 30, 60, 90-day repeat rates as an indicator of future LTV. And we saw that for certain products, certain publishers, like a coupon publisher versus an Ibotta is going to be really different. Same as a television versus paper towels. And so we were able to build and optimize towards these different metrics once we learned a little bit more about how these customers were shopping on Jet.
And just to simplify, as you know, I am a simpleton. Does that basically mean you ratchet down payouts for certain people and up payouts for other channels where there's more knock-on value? I mean, is that really like the lever you have?
Definitely. I mean, we have a baseline offer that we would give to any publisher, and then based on how incremental we think a publisher is, we might be willing to pay them a much higher commission. Right. And often we'll increase a commission up for a publisher once we've seen performance, and we're willing to do that because we want to get more scale.
Okay, so go ahead, please.
I mean, we look at our ad expense as a percentage of our like contribution profit, right? So you obviously want it to be less than 100%. And it for us, another like variable data that which I'm sure Jet has as well, is just the margin by category. And so like our local offers have a substantially higher margin than a TV.
Sure.
So that's where we can really again flex as well to make sure that we're not losing money on an initial transaction. If we're going to sell a TV and pay some sort of commission on that, then we better have a good sense that user is going to buy again from us.
Okay, cool. And then Lauren, you kind of teed this up, but especially looking at think about Groupon, like Retail Me Not, eBay, all these guys pretty serious, especially on the website, but increasingly on mobile too. I'm curious, have you found that the affiliate channel, which I think kind of gets a bad rap on the web as being just coupons and just cashback, have you seen it be more diverse, I guess, in terms of publisher types for mobile app stuff, or does it really over-index still to the cashbacks and coupon people of the world?
Yeah, I gave some examples in the beginning. Foursquare, General Motors, Bing, anywhere where there's search, a directory. Again, like for us in our local categories, anything health and beauty related, live events, things to do. So there's a really rich world of partners outside of just coupon sites, I think. So.
Cool. And what about for you, Lauren? I mean.
Yeah, I think a lot of those partnerships have been yet to be created, and that there's this big opportunity in creating, app-to-app discovery that we've really just begun to scratch the surface of. The coupons and the loyalty partners of the world are important, but we have a good idea of how much they're worth to us based on how incremental the users are and what their LTV looks like.
Yeah, I think the market has a perspective on how valuable they are. See, retail me not stock price. No disrespect, retail me not. Okay, so getting off the affiliate stuff for a second, and Mike, I actually have one for you, but a lot of people voted on this question for do you do influencer marketing? Is that part of the strategy overall as a channel? And I might make that slightly more nuanced. Do you work with some of these influencer networks, many of which have popped up in the last couple of years, or is it more direct stuff, direct outbound outreach to individuals that you then work with in some capacity? If you can speak to that.
Button or?
Those guys, your question is different.
Okay.
Your question's a softball.
All right, excellent.
Yeah, so influencer stuff.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, I mean, to be honest, I don't know for sure. I don't think it's a material source of acquisition for us.
Cool.
Yeah, it's not for us either. We haven't actually really tested it all with affiliate marketing, influencer marketing. I think, down the road, I can see it definitely being really important if we ever want to lean into certain categories and get credibility with those categories. Just as an example, if we just launched a luxury beauty shop. People might not think of Jet as the place, to buy luxury beauty compared to Sephora. So maybe we'd partner with an influencer marketer to try to drive traffic and give us a little bit more credibility.
Look, it's clear that Instagram is just printing money, right, through ads on their most popular influencer marketers. Reward Style is a massive influencer marketing platform, a very, very large affiliate publisher that's very selective, massive market. And it today, I think, is largely tied to high margin fashion, probably not different brands than we have on stage here, travel as well. But I expect that to move not only from, I think everybody will be an influencer in the coming years, and people trust personal recommendations, and I think there's some interesting new business models that I've been privy to that are developing around that.
And presumably moving in the direction of more performance-oriented stuff, I'm assuming.
Exactly.
I don't know how long you can afford, or how long you're able to get paid a flat $100K to post something. Eventually those people have to wake up. Okay, so Brian, this is a question directed to you, but Mike, I suspect you might have an answer for this. Just to clarify, so Button, obviously we're talking a lot about Button, that's cool. Are they handling all payment and all of the back end stuff, or how involved is your accounting team or whatever in the logistical stuff?
Yeah. So Button is, basically, in the instances when we're working with Button, Button owns the relationship with the affiliate. So essentially, makes it really easy for us. Right?
Yeah, we do we do the billing to the affiliate, the publisher.
Okay.
And we do that for Jet as well.
Okay, cool. And then the most upvoted question, which I have to ask. To be honest, I wrote the second one. Are the economics of paid UA really realistic? $5 install, don't you need 10% purchase rate to get a $50 print? That was just me trolling this event, because that math is fucking tough. But the real question is, they're particularly interested in team structure, and we've talked about this before. So how are the team structure, particularly I think more broadly mobile growth? Is there product and design and development commingled, or are you part of marketing? What's the structure story?
So it's a little bit complicated, but I will tell you how it's evolved from when Jet first launched to now. So when Jet first launched, the mobile growth team was really, really lean. It was, me, myself on the marketing side, one PM, one iOS engineer, and one Android engineer. And then we had a lot of shared resources with web. And the big challenge of that was that native was still a relatively really small percentage of traffic compared to web. And so we got ourselves into this cycle where anytime there was a release, we prioritized it on web. Anytime there was a resource constraint, we prioritized web. And so I spent some time really thinking about how we could grow our native, our native traffic and our native percentage of sales. And we realized, in order to have a higher penetration of sales, native not only had to be on par with web, but it had to be significantly better. And to do that, we needed to run a lot faster and have a fully autonomous team. So now our team is about 25 people, almost fully autonomous, I would say, except for maybe some back-end resources. But we have a team that all sits together that's cross-functional. So the mobile marketing team, our PMs, our iOS and Android engineers, dedicated UX and UI, dedicated analytics, so that we can make our own decisions on what we launch and prioritize completely differently from web. I think that's really important, especially for any sort of new platforms. Although native might eventually be rolled into other platforms, even though I roll up to the marketing team, and eventually it might not make sense to have a dedicated native marketing team. Maybe it should be more by channel, like you have an affiliate marketer and a paid social marketer. I think when platforms are still growing, it's really important to have dedicated resources that are focused on learning all the best practices, testing and learning really quickly, and then eventually, years from now, you could eventually hand that off into like the existing structure.
Within this sort of mobile company within a company, how many, yourself included, are you like doing paid marketing, user acquisition stuff? Is it like a couple people of the 20 or 30?
Yeah, so the way we do paid marketing on mobile is we actually do work with channel owners on marketing.
I see.
And so, we might, on the mobile growth team, we might come up with the budget and the forecasting, and here's like the testing roadmap that we want to lay out. But then we'll go to a paid social manager and actually create and launch those campaigns. And the reason for that is it's channel campaign creation and optimization. It's really just a skill that person becomes an expert in Facebook, for example. It doesn't make sense to have someone like running app and running web and to have those be two totally different people, because the question is like really like, where should I spend my next dollar?
Yeah. And
you want the person who's asking that question to be asking that question across all of your marketing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, we're out of time. Mike, I have a closing question for you, genuine question. Are you guys having, like, if people come find you, is there like a party or a happy hour? Or how do we get invited? Is there stuff to be invited to? Do you know?
A button event?
Yeah.
So
where are you going to be tonight? That's what I'm trying to ask.
I will be at the Central Bar all
Okay.
day.
Excellent.
I am easy to find, and I'd love to meet as many of you as possible, whether it's over a coffee or a glass of wine.
Okay.
So please come find me. I'll be right in the middle of the casino.
Okay, cool. All right, we can give them a round of applause. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.